Hi guys, welcome back to another quick card pull. This is being filmed on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Today we're pulling from the Gilded Tarot cards. They're showing the Seven of Cups. I feel like the things I've kind of been knocking on, maybe like things won't happen in the future. And I feel like, and I will say this, that this full moon was more like a new moon. This definitely felt like shadow energy. It was highly charged in emotions. We have Lionsgate portal in 4 days. We had Chiron going into retrograde. So there's a lot of moving pieces going on. The biggest thing is for you just to get rest and rejuvenation. This is a time for you to rest. This is a time for you to listen. So if you follow my account, you saw the previous video to this one for today, and that's exactly what they were talking about. It's a moonlit, and I feel like you're asking for answers. You're like, why is this happening? And I feel like this is where Spirit is like, we're going to give you the answers you're seeking. I feel like this is just because this blip happened, kind of like a speed bump, I feel like it's a dip. So like a pothole in the road does not mean that this is going to be the energy forever. This is just something we had to go through, and we're out of it now, and now we're recovering. So that's why they're saying rest. And I feel like that's why the Seven of Swords comes in here. Do not deceive yourself that because certain things happen that this is going to be a constant pattern. I definitely feel like this was a wake-up call. I definitely feel like this was important, and I feel potent is the word they're using. So I feel like this is something that will be useful, moving forward. How important rest and rejuvenation really is, because I'm the type of person that when an opportunity comes, I take it. You know what I mean? But then something comes in and tries to knock me off my path. And I know it definitely feels discouraging. Especially, that's the thing, you got to be really wise to yourself is like, I'm tired, I need rest, I need to recuperate, so I'm going to put some NRC in my water today. And that's where it's just like, don't make permanent decisions out of temporary emotions. Don't sit there and say the whole situation's going to be this because this situation happened. This does not have any bearing on the future or how you move forward. The important thing is, even baby steps, is that you're moving forward. This is a rebirth. So I feel like a very strong, potent person. This feels like Mars energy. So Mars was coming out for a lot of personal readings that I was doing. And it was like freedom, wisdom. I can't remember everything. Connection, I think, was a word that they used. They're showing the word connection. But, I love the way that the hands are. I feel definitely like healing. You know what I mean? And that way, where it's just like kind of like putting your energy into something. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely seeing like in my mind's eye, like a little like new seedling propping out of here. So I definitely feel like you are a strong individual. I definitely feel like you stand in your power. And I feel like this is already something, a lot of the things that come out of us, that when we go to the deeper levels of things, like we all have these abilities. It's just where you put your energy is where you're going to grow. And I feel like that's what they're saying here, that there's something that is going to come out of this situation, a rebirth out of this situation. I feel like utilizing a skill, utilizing like even information, because I personally went through this after Shane passed away. And my sister, thankfully, was the one that said, hey, I went through this too. And her son was there for her. And she's like, I had to lay in bed for 15 minutes. Even if we would stay there the whole night. But, it was just learning our body is in survival mode. It's in shock. It's like, fight or flight. And it's like telling you to like just rest and you're okay. You're safe. So, you know what I mean? This is where I feel like maybe you're pouring into someone else's cup. Maybe you're helping heal someone else. They can't hear you is what they're saying. So stubborn. So this is something that's going to exhaust. That's what I'm saying. It's going to exhaust your energy, but you got to keep going. You got to keep doing it. This person's important to you. Even if this is yourself. You got to heal yourself. You are no good to anyone if you're burnt out. Nine of Cups. This is why I was saying, this does not mean, this looks very Ratatouille kind of energy. Or like a rat trying to sabotage your future. I feel like, because rats get like a negative, imagery or like, dirty, whatever. Some people just love rats. It just depends who it is. Sopranos hate rat. You're the rat. But I feel like that's why they're saying, like, just because things happen, like they said, potholes, like a dip in the road, does not mean that this is going to be what the nature of everything is going to be. This is going to be a change. Venus. So again, with the hands going inward, as things move out of your life, 505, new things come in. You know what I mean? This is where they're saying what you need right now is already a part of you. And I feel it because, like, you know, they have Venus behind them, because you rule with love, because you are that person. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, like, you are seen as the nurturer. You are seen like, you know, quote unquote, the mother or the father of the group, where they could turn to you for advice. And, you know, this is what's going to guide them forward. This is going to help them heal. This is be the advice that kind of gets them, you know, when people go through things and they vent and, you know what I mean? And it's just like people give them ideas. It's like, you're good. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes people just need a vent. You know what I mean? Some people, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need to get it off your chest. So that's why I'm saying, like, you know, you are the person they turn to. But I feel like it's also in your situation where it's just like what you need to overcome the situation you already have in you. Just need to be patient. Make sure you're resting as well. Make sure you're getting the sleep. Make sure you're recovering. You know what I mean? That's a good sign. So if this person is struggling, you know, addiction, if this person is struggling, this is where you could come in and help them through that. You know, so it's just finding your footing, but make sure you're resting as well. You can pour into people's cup, but you got to take care of you as well. Remember we were talking about give yourself some love every day. So the moon card. So I know moon, we always talk about cycles and calling back in friends. That definitely does resonate with me. Like, you know, reconnecting with people from the past. But I feel like they're saying, highlighting you're in a cycle right now. You know, and I feel like that's the most important right now. So with the 2 pillars, I feel like balance is being restored. We got justice, so we keep getting balance, Libra scale, so air signs, higher levels of thinking. I feel like with this, they're just highlighting there's a cycle going on here. You know, like definitely having a conversation, being like, you know, we can either do this, the method of madness, or we can, you know, it's going to be a harder road, but, you know, it will be better. You know, like, I could definitely speak from experience, you know, like I even said, I'm not going back to the things that I recovered from. That was literally a post yesterday. You know, the shadows that we escaped, we're not going back to that. Positive confirmation of the situation you're struggling with, you will be the victor wearing the wreath. Is it going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy? Nope, there's going to be blips along the way. This is definitely going to be a year of, I don't feel like this bad, but I feel like they're saying crash outs. So that's where it's important to start implementing things that can avoid these situations, where we can get into habits and patterns that will be healthy. So that way we can move forward. That way we can recover. That way we can be healthier mentally. You know what I mean? So you will be the victor wearing the wreath. It doesn't feel like that right now, but you will. So 3 of Pentacles working together. The Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Let them download ideas to you. I feel like that's why they're saying, like, you know, rest and listen. Because this is Spirit answering your questions. You know, we pray, we ask questions, and it's like meditation will be very important. Sleep, you know what I mean? Like, especially if you're depleted, you're not going to get really... I find when I'm like this, I do get potent downloads, if that makes sense. And sometimes, like, it's a lot because they are chatty, you know. A lot of healers are chatty. And I feel like this is where it's like if they overdo it, it's just like, I love you, thank you for sharing, like, you're more than welcome to be here, but I need my sleep. You know what I mean? And they learn that, like, you have a boundary where it's just like, yeah, I definitely want to chat with you and listen to you and hear the information you're giving me, but at the same time, I also need to rest and recuperate. I need to rejuvenate. You know, they're excited they have someone to chat with. You know, they don't get depleted like us. You know what I mean? But I definitely feel like this is cooperation, working together. When one is down, the other 2 pick them up. You know what I mean? This is definitely going to be a group effort. High Priestess. So funny enough, they keep highlighting this cycle from the full moon that we just had all the way till they were highlighting August 12th, which is the new moon. And we're going to have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse in August. First one, I believe, is the lunar eclipse. Again, came up in the readings. But this is where they're saying, like, with, you know, the timeline, they're like, if this is implemented, you'll start to see a major change, like, within days. But this is a habit where, you know what I mean? Like, they tell you it takes 6 weeks to start a habit. This is something we're constantly having to deal with. This is something we're constantly having to make sure is implemented. Fine. Like, yes, live your best life. We're not here to sabotage anyone. We're not here to dictate to anyone or anything like that. Like we're talking about, some kids, are going back to school already. Today's the first day of school for a lot of people, or yesterday was. But this is where it's like, getting over those hurdles. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where it's just going to be like, there's going to be pushback here and there, and, oh, I know it all. And it's like, oh, I'm good. And like, no, we got to make sure that you're not good just for the short term. This is for the long term. This is for life. So either, not either, we're doing this. You know what I mean? But I feel like with the High Priestess, because usually they highlight the new moon, this is the waning crescent, right? So this is like shadow energy, again with balance. But I feel like that's what they're saying. Like, by that time period, August 8th, from the 12th to the 18th, that if this keeps up, like in a positive way, you will see a major shift. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like it's just encouragement for you to keep pushing forward, to keep fighting, to keep on, encouraging for healthy habits. Highlighting the Six of Cups, and this is what I'm talking about, pouring into other people's cup. You know what I mean? Like you're pulling from your resources. Love the sunflower. So like, very knockings of the sun card, as the sunflowers surround this child, the purity of the situation. So will victory surround you. You know what I mean? Monarch butterflies may be significant. Very fall-ish colors. Like I know the trees aren't like changed, but like the sunflowers and, monarch butterflies, the hair. So I feel like this is positive confirmation again of wisdom. You know what I mean? They're very witty, and I feel like it's just like I said, recovery, It definitely does feel like when you go through these kind of journeys that it's like you're in recovery, because it is 12 steps essentially, to like acceptance is the biggest one. You know what I mean? And I feel like all of us go through these trials and tribulations, and I feel like that's where it's important, right now, like I said, to make this a habit where it's positive, healthy, healing habits. You know what I mean? Like, especially when they're important to you. You don't want to see anyone fall. And that's why I feel like they keep on bringing the Three of Pentacles. Like, this is going to be a group effort. Again, it's just like, one is down, the other two pick them up. You know what I mean? Hopefully there's more. That they're saying it takes a village. You know what I mean? But it's just like, it's going to take time. But, constant effort and participation, especially on their part. King of Pentacles, and I feel like this is where, we get the fatherly energy, or that stern energy, that where they call the masculine. It's like the nurturer will overlook things, but there's a time to be stern. There's a time to put our foot down. You know what I mean? It's like, I have no problem nurturing people, but at the same time, if you keep on repeating the same toxic patterns, I'm going to put my foot down and be like, this is affecting you in a negative way. This needs to change. You need to change. Like this situation, like, you know what I mean? That's where I feel like Spirit is just like, this is I know it's like financial endeavors and everything like that, but I feel like in this way is more grounding energies. I love the green, very heart chakra energy, and it's like speaking from the heart, healing from the heart, where this is coming from the heart. This is not here to discipline, dictate, control, like, even though they're going to feel that way, very rebellious. They keep on saying that. This rebellious energy keeps coming out. I understand that, but no one's trying to control you. Everybody's trying to help you and help you heal. So that way, as you grow forward, you will have these happy, healthy, healing energies a part of you and a part of your life where this is not going to happen again. Ace of Pentacles is our last card. Buck energy. We've been getting, very the Enchanted Forest cards, and I feel like even though, remember we were showing in the Wild Unknown the Ten of Wands where they're intertwined, and they said it looks like there's no way forward, but it's an illusion. We break through it, they crumble, and I feel like that's why the White Heart is coming up. And it's like, especially if you have that, and there's the hair again, you have that connection with, divine creator, Gaia, Mother Earth, universe, Yahweh, Yeshua, higher self. It's just like they are your guide through this. Like, I feel like the muscles especially is like that, you know what I mean? Like that strength. You know what I mean? So highlighting the heart chakra, and I feel like because the pentacles on his antlers, I feel like this is where it's like your crown chakra. Receiving downloads. Like they said, this is time to rest. This is time to listen. You know, so it's just like putting the shoe on the other foot. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's why they keep on saying, remember when you went through this? I went through, you know, I went to meditation, working out, making healthy habits. So that's why they're saying we got to make this a healthy habit. The green, again, is like where it's coming from the heart. But again, like they're saying, you know, it's time to, you know, put our foot down here and show that this is not a negotiation. This is something that we need to implement so we can move forward in a positive, healthy, happy manner. This will benefit you from now all the way forward. So I feel like they're more kind of like they're showing like when you were the radio dial, kind of like Gwen Stefani's song, Beneath It All. You know, where she's sitting there and she's trying to adjust the radio to get the song to come in. I feel like that's what it is. It's like they're finally tuning in. They're finally honing in. They hear you, but now they're adjusting to actually hear what, you know, what you're saying is resonating with them. Because now it's getting to, you know what I mean? It's getting to a point where this isn't funny anymore. Like, you know what I mean? All jokes aside, all drama aside, and, you know, this is where their pride comes. I don't feel like pride. I feel like they just like being, they love attention. You know what I mean? But this is the wrong kind of attention. 1616. So I feel like it's just like, you know, do everything you can. You are a nurturer. You know what I mean? But it's just like now it's time. It's not funny anymore. You know what I mean? Like the game is over. You know what I mean? They're showing playing hopscotch. So you can't remember how with hopscotch you put your rock or whatever you had on the number and you couldn't land on that number and you had to, you know, it gets difficult. You gotta pick it up without, you know, falling over or anything or losing your balance. So I feel like that's what it is. It's like, you know, so you're feeling off balance. This is why they're telling you to rest. So remember when you got the Two of Pentacles and it's like one foot's balancing and the other one's in the air? I feel like that's what they're saying right now. It's just like, because we're not sure-footed like a deer. This is where the buck comes in. It's like they're going to guide you through. This whole situation is an illusion. This is not true. This is not something that's part of them. It's time to, you know, change and make healthy habits. So I hope you enjoyed this quick card pull. May the universe bless you good.